And just to gigolo, and everywhere I go, people know the part I'm playing. Paid for every dance, selling this romance. Oh, you see, there will come a day, and youth will pass away. What will they say?
Hey guys, Italian American wrestlers, you should know that was the great, the wildest Louie Prima. And today we're going to talk about my friend Louie Spicolli. Louis Maciulio Jr. was born February 10th, 1971. Sadly, he passed away February 15th, 1998. He's an American professional wrestler. He performed in Mexico under the ring name Madonna's Boyfriend for the World Wrestling Federation as Louie Spicolli, but also Radford. And he did that for the same in Extreme Championship Wrestling. And then he worked for WCW, where he sadly passed away. Once again, February 15th, 1998. Now, this is hilarious and it's awesome. And I think that some of you internet wrestling community members take shit a little too seriously. Louis credited himself as the inventor of the Death Valley Driver, and people would get so mad because there was a female Japanese wrestler doing it beforehand, and it didn't matter to Louis. That was a rib. It was a work. Do you understand? When I first met Louis, I went to Dallas, Texas, and I was booked by Jerry Jarrett, and I was booked by Bill Dundee. And the plans were for Jeff Jarrett to be the top baby face and myself and Bill Dundee to be the top baby face tag team. So the first night I went in and I knew nothing about nothing and nobody told me nothing. And we went to the ring and me and Bill Dundee worked against the Rocco RPMs, and I'll be goddamn, they put me and Bill over. Maybe this time they were going to not give me the Tennessee two-step and do something with me, you know. Now, this is what I hate. They have this wiki, and some of it's good, but some of it's bullshit, and it leaves so much out. But I'm going to, go ahead and put it in the description anyway, so you guys could look and see and whatever the hell. But what they didn't talk about was Louis worked at WCCW. He was down there in World Class Championship Wrestling. That being said, the next morning I went in after Friday taping, and Friday was for the local TV. Saturday was for the ESPN deal. When I showed up Saturday, there was a lockout. They locked out the Jarretts. They locked out everybody from Jarrett's crew because Fritz, Kevin, and Kerry planned to take over. Well, what ended up happening was it really got effed up because at the end of the day, without that partnership, nobody had the rights to any of the television. And I was like, now what? I had a good match the night before. They put me over. What the hell's going to happen to me? What about Rand? So the booking committee says, well, we thought you were going to go back to Memphis with the Jarretts. I'm like, no, nobody told me nothing about nothing. Remember, folks, this is prior to cell phones, etc. So I was booked, and it was myself and a guy by the name of Tom Fowler, a really nice guy from Dallas area, against Timmy Talltree and Louie Spicolli, Well, I wasn't going to go out there and be a job guy. I refused to do business, Somewhere in the annals on, not on YouTube and the four members of the tag match, but on one of the episodes of the Lost Tapes or some shit. You could see the match and you could see what I'm talking about, Yes, I worked with Timmy and Louie. It wasn't personal, but I'll be damned if I'm going to turn around and drive 9.5 hours back to Chicago again. I came down there to work. And, to Louie's credit, we worked the match, don't get me wrong, but I certainly wasn't going to be jobbed out, which was the plan with half of the locker room and poor Louie and Timmy Talltree. To their credit and to Louie's credit, they got it. You know what I mean? And as a result of that, I ended up staying and being actually a decent little baby face for the territory, you know. And one thing I'll say about Timmy and Lou, Timmy Tawtry, we'll talk about him another day, Tim Ernesto. But Louie Spicolli was about one charming motherfucker. I mean, what a likable guy, you know. We laughed, we giggled about, you know, the whole synchronism. I'm like, no, man, you got to understand, I'm not going home. I came down here to work. I don't know what the hell's going on with the office, but my happy ass made up its mind. It was staying, and I did, you know. But, you know, a classy guy and a young guy. It was amazing because I don't know. He must have been 21 years old at the time. Maybe 19 at the time. And what was funny about it is his mother, he had like the Jim Cornette gimmick going, but like for real. His mom, and he would talk about it and even call her mommy, you know, as part of his charm, you know, would fly him in from Hollywood or L.A., just to do those tapings, you know. She'd spend whatever that airfare was for him to make $75. But you didn't judge him for it because of the way he told you the story, you know. And what a sense of humor. Very talented guy. Undeniable character. Face, undeniable character. The other thing about Louie Spicolli is the heart, the heart, the heart, the heart. He took calculated chances, but he worked everywhere that you possibly could at the time of note. And I want you to take note, idiots. Places of note is where he wrestled. You understand? And he took chances, and it was undeniable. He got over because his basics were great, and he made even his basics special. There was something about him that was captivating, you know? Now, later I come to find out that he was a huge Chris Farley mark. And that made a lot of sense because he was very Chris Farley-esque, which really, even in your most uncomfortable locker rooms, that would come into play. And, you know, it would just ease the tension. It would ease the stress. It would make it fun, you know. He was a great wrestler who, I told you, he worked his ass off and he traveled. And he just didn't get lost in that ring. He'd do whatever was asked of him, you know. And as a result of that, he made a lot of friends. One friend in particular, and Sabu even says it, he's one of my best friends, you know. The story goes that they were booked for FMW, so I guess one way, shape, or form, I'm also related to Louie again because FMW is in part Victor Quinones, the promoter, and Gorilla Monsoon's adopted son in Japan, and something happened where Louie had to pee a lot, I guess, on the road. And the bus driver wouldn't stop just so he could pee, so he peed in a bottle. Then when they stopped to pee, Louie stayed on the bus, and he dumped the pee out the window. So when the pee was being dumped out the window, as the rib said, Boo told the bus driver, look, he's pissing out the window. Well, as a result of that, Louie got fired from the tour. Sabu felt terrible because rib is a rib, but it shouldn't have gone that far. And I guess those two young guys learned the hard way about the politics over in Japan. But fast forward, Sabu made amends. He made it up to him when he got a book for ECW. Now, there was no indication at the time when I met Louie at 19, 20, let's go ahead and say 20, about him having the bad gene or having a problem with alcohol or drugs. He didn't have that in Dallas at the time, you know. But it just goes to show you how progressive the disease is. And I'm going to go ahead and go on a limb here and say that a lot of Italian Americans have that addict alcoholic gene, and I am one of them. I've been blessed enough to be sober when I met Louie, and I'm still sober 42 years. And sadly, when Louie passed away, and Zebu's put it best, you know, the internet, the critics, the internet wrestling community, they love drama. They love to think the worst, you know. And yes, there's nothing good about a 27-year-old kid who hadn't even peaked yet in the wrestling industry dying. But he didn't die of a drug overdose. And I'm not saying it wasn't drug-related. It was drug-related. It was the fucking somas. And if anybody that knows about somas, that's about an evil motherfucker. Somas create what I like to call the walking dead. and Louie had regurgitated when he was sleeping, and because he was on those somas, he didn't get up, and he didn't wake up when he choked on his own vomit and passed away, you know. I saw and you guys could find it too, and I'm not going to give this guy any kind of press or anything, but some asshole from Europe in the international or in the internet wrestling community kind of made it like a joke. Louie was no joke. You got to understand how far this guy had come. He was 27 years old. He already had brief runs with WWE and was currently working for WCW. Imagine what he could have achieved by the age of 35, especially with that character look and the charm I told you about. You know, as he got older, I feel weird saying older, about a 27-year-old man. It wasn't that people looked the other way, but he could get away with more because of his charm, you know. And what that comes down to is as a worker. And Louie was a very good worker. Louie was a very good person, you know. And anybody that thinks that his death or his gimmicks or his career are a joke, I don't even want to fucking know you, you know. Very talented guy that is deserving of honor. And I'll tell you, I don't know too many guys in the industry today that would go to the lengths that Louie did just to keep working and end up where he ended up at the age of 27. Okay, guys, Italian American Heritage Month was last month, but it was also Native American Heritage Month, so we're going to do November because there is no Heritage Month, Italian Americans as well. I hope you enjoyed this, and, please note, it's being brought to you commercial-free. So many effing commercials on YouTube. Please, at the very least, like and subscribe, and go ahead and check out in the description how you can support Premier Pro Wrestling. This is sponsored by Premier Pro Wrestling. I'm Randy Ritchie, and, I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm very grateful that I got to know Louie Spicolli.